The fly effects on cattle in confinement. Two main sources come from house flies as well as stable flies. Things to note about the housefly. They are not a blood feeder, therefore they do not bite the animal. They can be found feeding in landfills or garbage areas. So if you find trash somewhere, there's a good chance you can find the life cycle of a housefly. They can also be found breeding in manure areas. This is one of the main reasons they are prevalent in livestock operations. The life cycle of the housefly is relatively quick. When the adults lay their eggs, they can take anywhere from 8 to 16 hours to start developing before they enter their first larval stage. The larval stage, or maggots, typically take anywhere from 3 to 6 days before turning into pupa. Depends on their temperature and environment they're in. Once they enter the pupa stage, which takes anywhere from 3 to 7 days, they will then hatch and turn into adults. This means from the egg to adult, the housefly can take anywhere from 7 to 10 days for a complete turnaround. This is why houseflies are such a big issue in not only the livestock operation, but also just general public. Let's talk about some helpful ways to reduce the housefly population. First, removing any manure buildup or rotting organic material helps take away their breeding area. Also, removing stagnant water or runoff from outdoor feed bags can also help disrupt the breeding area, which in turn causes the life cycle to be interrupted. Cleaning the bedding areas out regularly will help not only keep cattle happy, but also remove a breeding area for flies to lay their eggs. Taking these steps helps reduce house flies in general, but if you have a heavy load, proper use of pesticides can also be utilized. This would help to limit or reduce the number of adult houseflies. Now let's talk about stable flies. Stable flies, on the other hand, are blood feeders and bite the animal. They can typically be found on the legs and cause them to stop. The animals will gather in bunches to try and avoid fly bites. However, the flies typically are found breeding in the manure and bedding areas. Those areas can also be found next to their water and feed sources, which makes it hard for the animals to truly ever get away. Although houseflies and stable flies can be similar, some main differences can be identified in the larval and adult stages. Now, the life cycle of a stable fly is a little longer. The eggs will take anywhere from 2 to 3 days to hatch into the larval stage. Once in the larval stage, it takes anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks for them to grow into pupa. There they will feed on the manure that they were hatched into. Once into the pupa stage, it takes about 2 to 4 weeks for them to form into their adult bodies. Now that the adults have hatched, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks before the females have fed on enough blood to have the ability to lay up to 500 eggs each. Once again, reducing stable fly population can be similar to house flies. Number one thing to do is remove the breeding source. So, cleaning bedding areas, manure, and other stagnant water can help disrupt the life cycle. Fly traps can also be placed in any areas that feeding happens. And once again, if you have an excessive amount of stable flies in your livestock operation, then proper use of pesticides can be utilized. But remember, resistance is always a problem. The last thing I'll leave you with is the KDR gene in fly control within flies. Pyrethroids are a common chemical used in fly controls, but flies are amazing creatures and have very, very complex detoxification systems that allow them to build resistance easily to these fly products. Reducing your use in pesticides and finding alternative management practices is the best thing for your operation. Thanks for watching.